mean, hey, it be what it be. Oh my god, he's just dead. Wow. Usually if I had full modes, I would totally go in here. Yeah, not having full modes, I'm actually taking hits. The evasion and me like being able to permanently jump. Not a lot of mechanics are hitting me. Not a lot of things. Yo, what's going on, guys? A couple days into the league now. I think this is like the third or fourth day of the league, pretty much. Kind of wanted to make a video about what I'm kind of running here. So I'm playing Escape Shot. Now, Escape Shot comboed with, this is the Vision gameplay, so definitely comboed with fragmentation rounds. I'm playing the Gemling. The thing about what I find is Escape Shot is kind of like a meme. You know, not a lot of people think much of it, but I do really like it for the context of hardcore. You're surviving quite a bit. Mainly, you're not tanking much, but you're kind of just dodging everything because of how the character is constantly moving. I've died like 2 times in hardcore. One time because one time at level 2, and one time was a alt tab death where I forgot to pause the game. No fucking way. Otherwise, I haven't really died. I'm comfortably cruising around tier 15 maps. I can do like a couple of mods that do extra damage. It's a little bit early to see, you know, where this build's gonna take me, but I'm still like one-shotting a lot of things. This is my map so far. I've cleared bits. You know, there are 12 maps of ritual cleared. I've done a little bit of 20, 30 maps in, doing tier 15 so far. I think I was still one-shotting in Act 3 before, you know, even socketing anything on my crossbow. This is just stuff I found off the floor. And eventually Act 4, I kind of traded for a bit of there. That crossbow lasted me up into the end game. So overall, like, fragmentation bolts did receive a change in 0.5. There is a fires 2 fragments per shot. This is extra. So it used to be you get more damage, more physical damage on fragmentation bolts, but that doesn't really scale with your fire cold lightning. I'm playing Gemling. The reason I'm playing Gemling is, you know, I wanted to league start this because I'm not sure what's going to be good. I do really like the quality of life here. The Gemling gives this 130% more reload speed. Now, for context, this just makes it so you're extremely more safe. The faster you are in maps, the more safe you are. So the faster you're doing this, you know, the more safer you are. Now, let's go over the gear real quick. So as of right now, you know, it's been pretty smooth throughout the campaign, all the way to, I would say, throughout start of Act 3. I think I wasn't really finding my way in Act 2. It was a little bit tough to freeze a lot of enemies, but I think the thing that really makes things smooth is this, your shard scavenger. Now, I do not remember the lowest you can get this, but if you can get this, it makes clearing bosses really, really smooth. There are some bosses where not having this makes it extremely annoying. Let's talk about the skill setup. I'm playing Gemling, so I'm socketing a lot of these red skills here just to mainly get this hits against you have no critical damage bonus. I am playing HC, so you're going to notice a lot of my stuff is meant to be survivable. I'm meant to survive. So I'm sucking a lot of reds here just to get this. I don't really care about the, you know, less cost or the movement speed penalty, because I'm mainly just using this to move around. So Virtuous Banner, Virtuous Barrier, this is where the defense of this build comes in. And ideally, you know, you want a lot of strength motes, but 14, but I find that this is pretty decent. It is what it is, right? I'm using a lot of dexterity skills, so I'm gonna have a lot of dexterity motes. This is giving me roughly like, you know, 70% more, 70 increase evasion. That's like 3 nodes on the tree, right? And this is also giving me 16% increased maximum HP. The reason that Virtuous Banner kind of sucks is you literally the only thing that makes sense is to play, you know, evasion. Because if you're playing armor and you get hit, you're still gonna lose all your bonuses, right? So you can literally only play evasion, which kind of sucks. Now that you know a little bit about the defensive layers, I do like, you know, deflection. And so with Virtuous Banner, I'm sitting around 300 while moving, 34k evasion. But my deflection right here is 50k, 49% damage prevented. chance to deflect 95%. So this is like, I would say, equivalent to a, you know, a 2k life, 2k ES, since I'm having the damage pretty much. This, what deflection allows me to do is I can spam the flask if things are getting pretty bad. I can't really spam the flask if I'm playing, you know, ES and I have my entire ES bars gone, right? So next we have fragmentation rounds. The idea is here, deliberation. Elemental armament is really strong here because I'm kind of applying 3 minimum, 4 if 4 sometimes. So this is, you know, 36% more attack damage, or sometimes it goes over 48 if the ground is burning with the oil grenade. So this is huge. Close combat, you know, rapid attacks. Now this is what's important here. Rapid attack is going to be very important. I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, but your attack speed on your crossbow matters a lot because you don't really care about the reload. I'll talk about it a bit more later. Now we have stoicism. Now, I'm not really using, you know, a dodge roll that much. This is kind of my, imagine you're dodge rolling while attacking, which is kind of the idea of this build. So I never really have to worry about it. Slot in stoicism. Now escape shot is the outside of the build. It's the kind of the show of the build. Now it's just literally for utility. You can totally build escape shot to kill. I've done that before. I've league started an HC escape shot many times before. If you get a really good bow, you can definitely, you know, focus more on escape shot. The gemling has 52 increased damage with hits against frozen enemies, which is pretty nice. Not the craziest. If it was more damage, it'd be pretty nuts. But freeze, you know, more freeze up, build up. Rapid attacks, the faster you go, the more safe you are. Ice Bite, you know, helps everything, and Holy Descent. The last thing about I'm gonna get another perfect jewelers is gonna be area of effect. Your bottleneck for one-shotting a lot of the bosses is how fast you can freeze them, and you can run this or you can run salvo. If you can run this and salvo, which is really nice to freeze really fast. But I decided I don't have enough skills for salvo right now, so I can get an unset ring and try to put in salvo. But I mean, I'm kind of like overloaded on buttons I want to press, so I'm just relying on escape shot to freeze. How freezing works is you want to do, it's based on the amount of cold damage you do. So the only thing that matters on your bow is physical damage, cold damage, and attack speed. So you can literally find very cheap bows with all 3 of those. You don't have to worry about projectile, you know, skills to projectiles or critical damage or anything like that. Physical damage, attack speed, cold. So this is not perfect. I kind of, you know, this is kind of trash. This is kind of trash, right? I've had like a better bow here that is on paper more damage, but I don't really need anything but the cold damage and physical damage. So this has a lower physical damage roll, so I can't really use this. It doesn't freeze as fast as this thing. So that's all you kind of really need. It's the base of that. Cold damage is then multiplied by the more freeze buildup, and then the increased freeze buildup inside of your tree. You know, and then you got freezing mark. This is where a lot of the damage comes in. You have charge mark. Charge mark. There's a couple of nodes that's very important. I took this from Fubgan, watching him. I like this one for example. Increased magnitudes. Just with these 3 nodes increases your damage by 10%. More damage, multiplicative. So if your freeze, that's 20% more increased damage to the target. You put these 3 nodes in, you're now at 30%. So that's how the charge mark works. It's very, very strong. Very, very big. A freeze mark, that's mainly for bossing, but I do use it if there's a big pack and I want to get a bit of a bonus. Herald of Ice is a build where if you are going escape shot only, you can kind of heavily invest in, you know, more damage to Herald of Ice. I just kind of have it, you know, a little bit of blind there to keep me a little bit of safe. You know, more damage is code, increase area of effect. I can totally, if there's a way I can generate Frenzy, I would totally replace this for like charge perfusion or whatever that gives you like 25% more skill speed when you have a frenzy charge. Now we have 39% more area of effect. If you drop it in the ritual circle, it's bigger than the entire circle. It's actually crazy. Skill effect duration, area, the restless passion, expanse. Emergency reload, this is crazy. Now this is pretty big on the gemling. He gets 13% more damage, you know, so that comes up to like 44. And for some reason you can still spam it for 11 seconds right here. So it says the bolts expire. The duration is 6 seconds or until the empowered bolts are expended. I found out that for some reason the bolts are not getting it. It's not getting expended when I'm using them. So I don't know. I'm noticing the damage, but I don't know why it's not expending. So I'm just literally the whole 11 seconds I'm just getting more damage. Which is, I think it's a bug, definitely. I think it is a bug. Scavenger. This is the kind of the hidden tech. I've done this build a couple times. I didn't know about this. Yeah, I was finally looking around and I found this. And yeah, this is kind of the most fun I've had with this build. League starting it in hardcore. I've started escape shot like 3 times before in hardcore. This is my 3rd time. I think this is the most fun I've had, probably because of this skill right here. So you instantly reload your crossbow when you consume a freeze. And the buff is 3 seconds, but you know, now it's 21% more skill effect duration. This is quality 15. I'm not even, you know, maxed with this. And then I'm taking a node right here, which increases my skill effect duration and buffs on me expire 10% slower. So this lasts around 7 seconds. It's probably going to be maybe 7.5, 8 seconds. 7.5, 8 seconds when I am, you know, fully qualityed on it. But essentially, yeah. So imagine, you know, instead of taking the extra 0.2 seconds to reload time, you're doubling your damage. Just imagine it. You're doubling your damage. You're timing your damage by like 1.33, 1.4 or something, because you're removing this reload time and you're just firing non-stop. The issue with freeze gameplay here is if you don't kill the boss in 1 shot, you have to like try to freeze them again, and sometimes it would take 2. The boss would have a period where they cannot be frozen. So it's just like you're spending the entire time dodging mechanics. But with this, you can continue to fire and finish off the boss. I really like this about the gemling as well. Oil grenade applies, you know, exposure lowers total elemental resistances by 13%. It's 20 by default, then it goes to 33, and then you're multiplying that by potent exposure as well. It definitely works different on bosses, but still very, very potent. Wind Dancer, you know, playing an evasion character. Pretty tanky so far. You still have to do mechanics if they are one-shot mechanics. You're not like a, you know, armor stacking titan who can tank arbiter meteors. You still definitely have to do stuff. Let's go over the passive tree. Now, I am playing hardcore, so my stuff is gonna be a little bit more, you know, focused around defense. I'm not gonna have as many nodes for offense. Just kind of going down here, grabbing some of this. This is nice. This is nice to chain a little bit. We want this for some of the skill effect duration. This is huge. You'll want a little bit of elemental resistance, piercing, you know, on any elemental build. I feel like, you know, this is big right here. So 20% increased damage for each elemental ailment. Usually there is 3 to 4. You know, there's 2, which is, you know, 40%. But if you have charge mark on it, it's 3. And if the ground is ignited with oil grenade, sometimes it happens. I don't know what's igniting it. Some shit's just igniting it. You have, you know, 4. Now, the things that I do find very important is this one, freedom of movement. I'm level 87 right now, but in the future, you know, I might want to get unhindered. There are a couple things that can really kill your character. I've found playing this many times is if you are slowed in the middle of a pack, you can actually get hit. So usually if your attack speed's fast enough, you know, you're zooming in and out between packs, you have the evasion to kind of get rid of most of the hits, deflect, you know, increase your EHP. But if you're slowed, a lot of the hits are actually going to hit you. So, you know, having this is very important. Get velocity. Now I'm playing deflect, so I want a lot of the important things for deflect is train deflection. Obviously, you know, I'm trying to reduce the amount of damage my deflect's actually doing, because I'm getting it very, very high. Now, the one thing that's very important if you're playing deflect is increased deflection rating. Now, the thing about increased deflection rating is this applies after your evasion. So let's say you copy, this is like a more multiplier on your deflection, which is really nice. So let's say you have like, you know, a 1000% increase evasion from various things. And then your deflection is gonna copy that evasion over. So you're gonna have 1000 deflection. You know, and then this applies on top of it, you know? So instead of like adding into the evasion pool of increased, it's, you know, multiplying it on top of after everything is going on in the evasion. Pretty nice too. Cannot be light stunned if you haven't been hit recently. There's a little bit of danger with getting stunned and dying, especially when you're playing an evasion character. So having something like this kind of smooths things out a bit. This one is pretty cool. You know, this is very powerful. This is where a lot of my damage notes are in. Besides that, I'm not, you know, I have some here, you know, but this is really cool. So 50% increase attack damage while moving. When you're shooting fragmentation rounds, this is really nice. You know, a lot of this is increased attack damage while moving. Quick Fox, increased deflection rating while moving. A lot of my stuff is while moving. You know, spring hair. This spring hair is pretty nice. Deflection, evasion, crossbow guy. However, you know, I think escape shot is an ability that is a little bit slapped on. I don't think it's the craziest. I think the reason why I really like it in beginning of a league start is it's pretty cozy and you can kind of run through mobs with it without needing like a bunch of investment. Because when you're starting off with a character, I don't think you're killing everything. I don't think you're killing stuff as fast as you can sprint through it. You know, like this is essentially at this attack speed. You know, at this attack speed, you're kind of like walking. You're kind of it's like slightly slower than sprinting. I think it's just cozy. You know, you're dodging through a lot of mechanics. There are some mechanics that you can't really dodge if the enemies are. If the mechanic punishes melee, it kind of punishes you as well. It might be janky to like click your mouse and like go on the opposite side. I don't really. I think it takes like 10 minutes to get used to it. But I do like. It feels really nice to just fire. Just do this. It feels pretty fucking cozy. Oh yeah, we can look through gear. So for the most part, you know, up to Act 3, I was playing with just gear, whatever gear I found. Since the league just started, I bought a 15 Exalt crossbow, which took me all the way to maps. It was a pretty damn good crossbow. This is the last one I used. Now it's, you know, I think I found one with attack speed projectiles. I slammed lightning on it. And this one took me to around level 65 to 85. This is the last one I crafted. I think I found with projectile skills, and I kind of slammed the rest. Not the. I think this was like a 10 to 15, 10 divine crossbow. I would say as of right now. My character is looking at like 30 div. I would say 30, maybe 40, 30 to 40 div. This is crazy. I found this off the floor and slammed like 2 things, and then got this 20, 15, 20 div. So this is probably contributing to a lot of my survivability. But before that, I was rocking this 30 exhaust. This was fine. I think having this is what allows me to do the 4 modded tier 15 maps and not be too scared. You want asphyxia? This is like 1 div. Apparently on HC. Stuff might be cheaper on softcore, but you know, this is really nice. You're chilling for 50% most of the time. The attack speed is very appreciated, and increasing your damage for cold is what also increases the freeze amount. This is pretty nice. This I kind of slammed as well. I don't know, like if you were to ask me like how much does this stuff cost, instead of me like I'm just gonna throw up shit right now, I think this is 5 div. As of right now, day 3 in the league in HC. So this is probably 5. It's probably like 20. It's probably, you know, this is probably like 20 exalts, or maybe 10 exalts. So you see, the bow doesn't matter. You know, if you're playing escape, if you're playing fragmentation bolts, the bow doesn't really matter. So this would be, I would probably put this at like 3 div. This is probably like 5 div. This is probably, I put this at like 1 div. This is pretty damn nice. Probably like 2. So most of my price is in the, you know, the chest. Oh, I'll tell you what I anointed as well. Mental perseverance. So I'll pick. Oh, also 2 weapon sets. I forgot to mention this. Well, let's talk about this first. Mental perseverance, 10% damage taken per mana for life. I'm deflecting half of it. So essentially at 2k life, this is worth 400 HP. So I'm sitting around 4,400. So I'll talk about the different weapon sets. Crossbow weapon set. I'm taking a bit of damage. You know, the good close damage here. I have a crazy one I found in Sekima, in the trials. But crossbow is these 2. Boom, boom. Projectile damage, you know, chain, and then all this movement stuff. And then when I'm using escape shot, it is freeze. Freeze build up, you know, freeze build up, big freeze build up. And I'm also putting the mark here as well. Now I think these increase effective mark. I don't know if you're supposed to get this, but I put this on and I didn't really notice anything number wise, so I kind of took it off. Well, yeah, that's the build. I hope y'all are having a good league start, and I will see you at the next one.